You're listening to Two Tall Guys Talking Sales, where real-world sales experience meets practical strategy. In this episode, Kevin Lawson and Sean O'Shaughnessy unpack how to break free from a sales slump and reignite your momentum. From Joe Girard's timeless lessons on building small wins to Sean's personal method of rewarding progress, they'll show you how to turn setbacks into consistent sales success. Stay tuned, because by the end of this conversation, you'll have the mindset and the process to get back on track and crush your next quota.
Sean, it's fun to be back here. The leaves are changing, days are getting shorter, but it reminds me that sometimes the season of sales changes and it takes the wind out of your sails and you can be in a slump. So I want to talk to all the people who are listening today about how to get out of a slump, right? It's kind of like batting. It's your short game in golf. It's your shanking it in soccer. It's just not being able to get on base if it's baseball. Any sports analogy you can consider can have a slump, but it can also have a banner year. Think World Series one year, think slump the next year, think getting traded from a World Series team with lots of potential. There's all kinds of stuff that can happen in a salesperson's life that correlates to sports. What's neat about this and what our profession is that we are, as a profession, pretty good at taking a no. We're in that sports Hall of Fame measurements and KPIs. If you bat 300, you're in the Hall of Fame, right? If you hit 3 out of every 10 balls or 3 out of every 10 prospect to closes, you're in the Hall of Fame. You're making quota, all those good things. So getting out of a slump often only requires one at-bat, one pitch, and one right feel. It's got to feel right. So sometimes I work with a lot of salespeople and they're in a slump, right? Often, John, you and I get called because businesses are in a vice or in a slump, or there's some where they're at a crisis of confidence. Whether you've been in service, I've never been in military service, but I've read a lot of books that talks about doing things like get you a win early in the morning. Get up on time, make your bed, take the shower, do all the things that build success naturally to build towards the win. Because a win is nothing but a series of incremental successes. Sean, it's good to be back. I hope our listeners are ready to think through how they can get better incrementally tomorrow in progress of a win.
You know, as you were saying this, Kevin, I was immediately thinking of the very first sales book that I ever read. So I read this book when I knew I was accepting a job in sales when I was in college. And he may have the world's record for being the world's best salesperson ever. But at the time, he actually was in the Guinness Book of World Records for the world's best salesperson. He was a car salesperson, a Chevrolet car salesperson, I believe in the greater Detroit area, but not Detroit itself. His name was Joe Girard or Girardi. I think it was Girardi originally, and he dropped it to Americanize it a little bit. And he was selling some unbelievable number of cars per day, like 10 to 15 cars per day, a guy, right? Like he was an entire dealership all to himself. I'll see if I can find the book. I'm sure it's way out of print, but I'll see if I can find the book and put the link in the show notes. But one of the things he told me in that book long time ago is that there's days when you don't feel like selling. It just don't have it. He said, those are the days that you go fishing. Those are the days that you go to the golf course. Because don't blow a good day by not selling. His philosophy on that was do all the things that you just said. Make sure that you are doing something easy the very first thing. So he started his day, if my memory serves me on this correct, and I follow this whole philosophy if I don't want to sell that day, but I know I need to. He started this day every day by making a really simple phone call to somebody he knew would answer the phone. Now, for him, that was his mother. Guaranteed she was going to answer his phone and say hello to Joey every morning. So he would pick up the phone and he'd call mom, because he just didn't feel like making cold calls and calling all that list that day to get people in the door and get them to come in and buy one of the 10 cars he was going to sell that day. Now, that was his trick. And there's a variety of tricks. And if you talk to professional athletes, they use tricks as well. It's part of the reason why professional athletes are so big on superstition. They always have their special thing, their special color of sock, whatever they do, right? They rub the bat the certain way. They do circles at the top of the key before they walk up to the line to take the free throw. Whatever it is, they have their repetition. They have their thing that they do. And that is the key thing, because if you look at many professional athletes, they will do the same thing before those very important activities, the shooting from the free throw line, the driving up the first tee of the driver, whatever. They line themselves up, they set themselves up, they do the same thing, they do it repetitively because they've practiced over and over again. And I think you talk about this all the time. In fact, I think you said something about this in our B2B Sales Lab community that we sponsored, Kevin. Practice makes easy. So when you are in a slump, you want to make it easy. And so the key to getting out of a slump, I feel, is doing the practice over and over again so that something is rote, something is simple. And then you simply go through that motion and you make it easy. Or if it's a really bad day, just go play golf. So what do you think, Kevin?
I think that some days I would have been better off playing golf, but there's other days where I just hope the day doesn't end, right? We've all had those days where we hope, most salespeople in any material size sale, big dollar, big transaction or systems kind of sale, really hope for one or two per week, month, period of time that's relevant to your profession. But when you have that lightning strike moment, because you've done all of the simple things well up to that point, and then lightning strikes and you close 2 or 3 in a day or something really crazy, you've just done a great day's work in a day's time, a great day's work. It's a celebratory moment. This is the moment where you come home, you grab whoever is in the house and you say, we're going out to dinner tonight because today was that kind of good day. Not the kind of day where you come in home and go, shucks, I really don't feel like eating. So the idea that building towards that is important. So for salespeople, this is often different than a sales leader, right? This is where we need to create some differentiation, some separation. Because for all you salespeople out there, part of your work is repetition, part of it's grinding, part of it's being at the right place at the right time, or the right networking event, or the right trade event, or reading the right book in preparation for. There's this systemized approach to getting in front of the right person to help you make your quota. So let that sink in. Doing the right simple tasks and preparation efforts that keep you organized and well-oiled goes a really long way. But for sales leaders, and this goes for you owners out there as well, you sometimes can get dealt a rough deck, right? Because sometimes your team may not be working as hard. Maybe they all had bad days when they all played golf together. You never know. But the idea is that as leaders, we own the goal. And owning the goal is tough when not everybody is contributing to the goal. And sometimes the everybody can be delivery. It can be operations. It could be a new accounting clerk who's really working hard but makes some errors on some outbound invoices. These things happen, and they're forgivable, but we still have to own the goal. And when we don't own the goal, we got to get the big shovel out and start to fill in the hole that we've left. Because when you miss quota for a month or for a quarter in real bad states, if you miss that goal materially enough, you got to do something else that's going to fill that in, plus not miss the current goal. So it could be a pressure cooker of sorts. So finding your way up and out still comes back to those simple things. Are you coaching consistently? Are you doing a good job of holding people accountable? Not hammers looking for nails, but are you saying, hey, what is the next actual step in this opportunity? Be next step obsessed. What are your leading metrics? Are you, Mr. and Mrs. Salesperson, meeting them? Hey, marketing peer, are we getting enough volume in our leads pipeline from marketing? Now, Sean and I always say, leads are your responsibility, salespeople, but we do have the responsibility to work with marketing to make sure the branding is good so that people know us when we show up, whether we show up in email, billboards, doesn't matter. We have to have this stacked hands approach because sometimes winning is a group effort. Sometimes it is an individual effort. Sometimes it is a combination of things. Sean and I, what we've talked about in the past, enterprise, team selling, all those multi-threaded kind of approaches. This is what it takes to do well. And if you haven't thought about all those things, hey, you might be in a slump right now. So let's pull off the Band-Aid here and let's see what kind of creativity we can insert back into the process. We've all been there. We've all had bad months, bad quarters, bad whatevers. We've all lost a deal or a client that we thought we had or thought we had a great relationship with. It happens, but we can't dwell on it. And as somebody who's a relationship seller like me, it takes me a while to get out of those things. So that's a real big deal to me. So I know if you're in that kind of paradigm, I get it. But also for people like us, small things also create lots of momentum for us as relationship sellers. Getting somebody to lunch and just chopping it up, socially improving the relationship, that's a win. Sean, I can talk all day about relationships.
Yeah, I think that your last thing is what I want to start with. And that is when you're in a slump, do something in your job that you enjoy, because that will make it easier to get back in doing the hard things. Because we all know there's some hard things in sales, right? Just fact of life. But there's something about the job that you do enjoy, I hope. Takes. Maybe you should get a different job. Let's be honest. And I'm going to suggest that you follow some advice from Happy Gilmore, who's not an athlete, but he acts like an athlete, right? And that is go to your happy place. Go to the thing that makes you happy about what you do. And Happy Gilmore talked about this if you watch the movie from, 10 years ago, whatever that was. And longer than that, okay. You go to your happy place. You go to the thing that you enjoy. Now, Kevin just talked about you go to lunch with your really good customer that you're just friendly with, because sometimes that'll help. Sometimes it does help to go talk to an existing customer, because that will reaffirm what your product, what your company does for that company and the value that you bring to your customers. And that might just be enough to re-energize you about, gee, we did a really good job there. And it's time to go find somebody else that we can do a really good job for. So maybe that's the secret. Or maybe what you like to do is you like to make cold calls. Some people do. Blast out 50 phone cold calls really fast, right? And maybe that'll get you out of your slump. But you need to think of the happy place. Now, another way to kind of manage this whole process is to try to avoid getting into the slump and always be working towards your goal, always working towards a reward. And I've talked about this before on the podcast, and so I'll just reaffirm it a little bit. Many people work in a company in sales where at the end of the year, you get to go stand on stage. At least the top 5 producers of the company get to stand on stage and they get pictures taken with them, with the CEO, and maybe they won a trip or whatever. But there's that award show of all the people, the top seller, the top new deal seller, blah, 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 right? That's a long time to wait for that reinforcement. That's a really long time to wait. So the challenge of waiting for the end of the year, for the whole challenge of, I can't wait till the end of the year and get patted on the back because that was the number one deal, because I'm not going to be the number one deal of the year. However, you just closed a deal. You just closed a significant deal. It wasn't the biggest deal the company closed that year, but it might be the biggest deal you closed so far that year. Or maybe it was a deal that was above a certain amount for the year. So let's just say that your quota for the year is $1 million. Let's make it $1.2 million, $100,000 per month. And you close $104,000 a deal. That's bigger than the deal should be for the month to make your number. So you closed a quota making deal. You should buy yourself something nice. Go out and buy a new golf driver. Go buy a bucket of balls to go ahead if that's what makes you happy, right? But buy something every time you get a special order, a certain type of order that's a certain size or certain product. Go buy something special, but only buy that gift for yourself when you do that. You never will buy this for yourself again, except for when you do that. Whenever you get that $100,000 order or that $500,000 order, whatever your quota is, whatever makes sense for you, but buy yourself a gift. Maybe it's a handbag if you like collecting handbags. Maybe it's a special type of a collectible that you like to put on your shelf. Whatever that is, reward yourself for those. Now, if you come into my house, I'll show you a closet full of very beautiful tequila bottles. That's what I buy myself every time that I get a specific type of order. I buy a special bottle of tequila that's relatively expensive, and it's the only time I ever buy it. So I've been living this myself for decades. And so I encourage you, if you are in a slump, to think about the reward that you want when you get that special order. Because when you're in a bad situation, when you're in that slump, when nothing's going, I always think about, and you're going to think I'm an alcoholic now, but I think about that bottle of tequila and I need to buy another bottle of that very special bottle. And it has to be that one. And I won't buy it until I get that order. So with that, I challenge you to find something that's going to help you get out of the slump. I challenge you to come back also in next week at Tuesday at 4:30 and join us here at Two Tall Guys Talking Sales, because it's the end of our 15 minutes and it's time for us to go. Thank you very much.
What a powerful conversation today. I loved how Kevin and Sean explored the psychology behind practice. Makes easy. That idea that repetition and routine turn selling into second nature. It's a reminder that when the game feels off, the path back to sales success often starts with mastering the basics again. I also appreciated Sean's insight on creating a personal reward ritual. It's such a simple but transformational step, because celebrating progress keeps your motivation alive, even in the toughest slumps. Don't wait until the chaos of tomorrow's calendar pushes it aside. Decide right now what your next self-reward will be and make it happen after your next win. If you ever need help with sales management, building stronger sales processes, or accelerating your company's revenue generation, Sean and Kevin are just a message away. You'll find their contact information in the show notes. And don't forget to check out the B2B Sales Lab, a private community where sales professionals and leaders work together to solve real-world challenges, share strategies, and crush their quotas. The link to join is right there in the show notes. We'll be back next Tuesday at 4:30 p.m. Eastern with another episode designed to help you win more deals and lead with confidence. Happy selling!